I'm Angela Johnson and I can't wait to show you the beautiful collection from Craft Consortium with artwork designed by an amazing artist called Katie Hackney. And this particular collection is all about Herbarium. Now Herbarium is 12 by 12 beautiful images, and every single page, you've got 40 pages in this book, 12 by 12, is full of beautiful herby craftiness. Even the cover can be cut out and crafted with. So I'm going to start with the vintage watering can. I love this. This is really, really lovely stamp. Nice large stamp, so it means you could fill it with actually any flowers in the collection. But what I found with Katie Hackney is she's an artist that uses a lot of watercolour paints in her images. So I'm going to use a VersaFine ink, and this actually gives me choices. I can colour it in with my colouring pencils, or I can colour it in with watercolour paints if I choose. And what I really love about these stamps is they always stamp so beautifully. In fact, I feel like I get an illustration as if I'm an illustrator illustrating a book. Look at that image, it is so clear. Now, if I wanted to now add in, which I do, the lovely herbs, I want them to be coming out of the watering can. So what I've done is I've created a mask, and you can get masking sheets, and sometimes I even use like sticky notes and create a masking sheet. But what a masking sheet does, it enables me, I've stamped on top of it, I've cut it out, but it doesn't stick to the stamp, but it now enables me to stamp over it and layer up some of my lovely herbs. So the herb I'm going to start with, let's start with that lovely large, I think we'll use the sage first. And all of these, remember, Katie sits in nature. She sits in nature, she sits in front of the herbs, and she draws from nature, which means you're getting some really lovely artistic images to work with. So I'm going to put this, and this is going to be my foreground. So it's going to be very prominent. Don't want it to go over the handle. Stamp it on. And that's going to be my feature. Lovely, lovely feature sage for me to colour in. The next one I'm going to add in is basil. And I'm always using basil in my cooking. So, basil and tomato, basil and avocado. But if I wanted my basil to go behind my sage, I've actually created a second mask so that I can get even more dimension to my stamping. This is a lovely way to use really lovely stamps, and you can reuse masks if you make them time and time again. And you can get masking sheets on the website. It's really easy to use them, and they don't leave any marks on your stamping, but they do stick, and depends how many times you've used them, obviously. I've used this one quite a few times, but it will last for this demonstration. And I'm now going to take my lovely basil, and basil's going to be stamped in. You're looking at it and thinking, why is she doing that? It's going to be all over each other. But it's really clever when you lift off that mask. And I just missed a bit there, but I can actually just see it. And go back in over that bit there. I'm happy with that. And then the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to take the thyme. The thyme's really pretty because it's got flowers on the top, and that adds a little pop of colour to my project. Stamp this one the other side, going over that mask one more time, and that will add really lovely look to that side. I'm happy with that. Now the magic happens when you take the masks off. I'll just put my ink away so I don't put my sleeve in it. It wouldn't be the first time. But once you peel off the masks, you see that you've got the layered herbs. So my lovely sage is in front, my thyme is behind, and there's my basil. So now the fun bit, now the colouring in. So I'm just going to use some of my colouring pencils, and you can see that very, very quickly you bring these lovely stamped images to life. And I've re-immersed myself into my love of colouring pencils recently, because I found they're very easy to take on the move. And I'm sure Katie uses them, Katie Hackney, the artist, when she goes out and about, as well as using her watercolour paints. An interesting fact about her, she's won awards for making wallpapers as well. She has a big design award that she won. So I feel really privileged when we get to work with a true artist's work. And you can see how very quickly, using your colouring pencils, you can bring these lovely images to life, not being too fussy, because the images are so well made that my colouring is really superficial. It's just adding the hint of all those lovely herbs to my project. And last one is my lovely sage. Now sage is a little bit lighter. I like my gardening, so I know a little bit about herbs and flowers, so I'm going to use that a little bit brighter. Of course, when we're crafting, nobody's telling us exactly that it has to be exactly like nature. The other thing you can do, obviously, is when you look in the book, you've got images coloured in by Katie. So if you did want to follow strict ruling of how she has coloured them in, obviously you could do that. And another thing I usually do is I'll start with the lighter colours and then I'll go darker. So always starting lighter and then build up the colour with the darker ones. I'm conscious I want to get on and show you the whole project, so I won't probably spend as much time as I would have done if I was home, but I think it gives you an idea of how lovely these lovely herb images come to life. Well, they're a nice colour combination actually, seeing all the greens together. That just leaves that lovely watering can. And very simply, what's really clever about the stamps, I don't really need to do too much to it. I'm just going to add a highlight of a nice light grey, and I'm going to keep it going round, so I try and mimic that there is that sort of shape going with the watering can. So instead of going up and down or side to side, I'm taking it round, so getting some round movement into that watering can, and then I go back and lightly just blend that in. So that will give me my metallic planter, and I'm very, very happy with that. Tell you what, I'll give you a closer look at that. So now we've got our stamped image coloured in, let's get to making our card. So I've taken a 7x7 card blank, a square card blank, quite a useful size because there's so many lovely papers. I want to include as many of the papers as I can to complement my lovely design. So for the main background, just look at this. Beautiful mint and herbs, all designed by Katie and hand illustrated. One of the things I do, if I'm going to put anything on top, I don't leave the centre of that cardstock as it is. So I take my craft knife and I usually either do a die cut, maybe I might need to take a shape out for my card, or at least I'd use a craft knife, just take out that centre so you're not wasting any cardstock, because it really, every single page is precious, because don't forget, every single page is double-sided, so I may choose to use the other side a little bit later, and that's why I always take out the centre of my cardstock. I never ever mat and layer leaving that behind. So back to my card. I've put some double-sided tape on the back because it's quick, clean and easy, and that will stick my background to pop out all the rest of the images on my card. So we'll just take the backing sheet off and make sure my flowers are up the right way. Make sure my card is not going to Australia. My card is round the right way. I have done upside down cards before, as you can guess. And now let's put that on. That's straight. And we've got a lovely background. Even that on its own, with nothing inside it, still looks lovely. So then the next sheet that I've chosen, just look at this. This is the lovely sage, and you can see how she's got all the lovely tones in there. Can you see there's lovely mushroom colour in the background? I just think the colour coordinate, oh dear me. And you look at the garlic on the back, it's just as pretty. So hard to choose which side to use, but on this occasion I know I'm going to use this one. Now do something, so I wanted the main frame to come out. I'm going to move it over and down a little bit, and you'll see why in a minute. Because the next thing I want to do is, I'm going to put on my next layer. Now my next layer, I'm going to bring it right down into this corner. So you don't always have to have things in the middle. Sometimes it's nice to draw the eye away and it makes your cards a little bit more interesting. So just showing you how I use that tape. Doesn't need to be too strong, so I'm just going to put a bit of tape on the sides. And you can see that sometimes double-sided tape really is quick and it's easy. And it comes off really easily, and for me it's one of my easiest ways of attaching cardstock, because it doesn't have any height to it. It goes nice and flat, and I don't want this to be dimensionalized at all. That goes in that corner there. So it's quite an interesting different way of having it. And the reason I've offset it is I want to make a border down this side. So still taking the same papers, I want you to think that this has come over the top. So it's going to come over the top, and wait till you see this next bit. There's a whole sheet within the collection with all the herbs written, with all the names of the herbs, and I thought that was a really fun one to have down the side. So that's going to go down the side there. So we'll stick these two together. I've put some tape on the back of that one, but I don't actually need to use the whole thing. So let's cut it to size first. I've got my scissors. Cut that to size, take the tape off, and then we're going to attach a couple of the embellishments, and this is where you'll see the Craft Consortium quality of everything that they make is sensational. Oh, look at these! We have trowels, and we have the lovely little metal charms, the little snippers that you would use to cut your herbs. So we're going to use both of those. And how will I attach them? A little bit of a tip. If you ever have any hessian like this is what I use. I don't keep it to use it as fabric. I keep it as the everlasting thread. And I just take a sheet off, and this is really strong, and it ties, and it's really lovely thickness. Because for even a small embellishment like the trowel, and I'm not very good with needles, so this is perfect for me, I can just feed it through it comes, and I can tie it onto my project. And even on the little snippers, they have a little space for you to feed it through. Oh, they're so cute. I almost think I could wear these as jewellery, make myself a necklace for the garden, a herb necklace, and put that one through. And it goes, and we're going to now tie that to the project. So I'll tie them together first so they don't fly all over the place. You can attach a glue dot or anything to keep them sturdy afterwards. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the cords down, one of the cords up, and we're just going to tie it round a couple of times. And I have got some tape to hold it in place, but I just want to give that rustic look by tying it round and taping it down. So I'll tape that down first. This won't get seen behind, so it doesn't really matter. So that can go like that, and then come back to the front and bring that one down, and then tie that one round the back. As I said, I just trim off the extra bits afterwards because that won't be seen behind. So just trim those odd bits off, and it gives a nice rustic look. The bits at the side that I put the tape on can now attach this to my project. Take a glue dot, and a glue dot's a useful way of just stabilising one of them, not both, because I want somebody to be able to lift these up. What I do with the glue dot is I take it in my hands, roll it, put it on the back of the trowel, and now my trowel will stabilise that in place. And that's a really cute border to have on there. That last string though, I will cut off. So we need to now attach our final piece, which you can see we've got a lovely mount to add our beautiful display. And I'm looking, it's there in front of me, in my tape it on, and we put our finishing on now. We've got one last job to do once it's in place, and that's to add a sentiment. You can see the herbs peeping through on the border, and then here we go, we've got our last stamp to put on, which is going to be, I could put drink me, but I'm not going to drink the herbs. So I'm going to do love herbs, and I can put them both on at the same time. So there's herbs. I like my stamping block because it's got lines and I can actually see that I'm putting them on straight. And there's love. And before I put the ink on, just check it's going to fit where I want it to go. Yes, it will. So I'll take my ink again. Obviously I have to do this one carefully. Don't want to get any marks on my lovely project. Add this onto the corner. And now here we have our finished project. I love my herb card.